Welcome to 321 Presents. I am your captain for this episode. My name is Zach. Along with me, I have my co-host and co-pilot, Nick.
Howdy, howdy.
And the new year, we've learned a lot in this new year. We were fortunate enough to do a sports podcast up here, for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So figuring out the landscape of social media is really slow here in the new year, which makes sense. Everyone spent all their Christmas monies and whatnot, and we're in recovery. We're not ready for any of the new stuffs. But we do have some topics that we'll talk about in the media atmosphere. But before we get there, of course, the sports ball just keeps on rolling. Everything is still happening all at once for a lot of the different things. There's discussions to be had around a lot of the different sports. Baseball, I'm sure, is fine, but eventually we need to talk about a cap there. But they're on slumber time for the next 2 weeks, I do believe, before they have to go to spring training or whatever they do.
I mean, we did winter meetings around Christmas time, and there are still some free agent moves getting made. I've been getting some notifications every now and then when guys off of last year's roster get moved around.
The people whose names I, do not know, nor remember, for people who I still do not know.
So, yeah, it's going to be a whole bunch of that again next year with Kyle Freeman and Hunter Goodman, and that's all. That's everyone that we can guarantee.
Their band of Merriam and Company.
Oh, and Ezekiel Tovar as well. He's still locked in for a few more years. And other than that, we don't know. It's still open game.
We got the center fielder.
Yeah, Brenton's still down for a couple more years. I don't think he's locked up long-term yet. But no more Michael Tolia. No more Angel Shavili out of the bullpen.
You could just make up whatever name you want right now, and I'm going to be like, yeah. He's gone.
No, I mean, everyone knew about Michael Tolia's very bad year last year.
Oh, horrendous.
It was statistically one of the worst performances a major leaguer has ever put up in the amount of time that, for the amount of playing time he got, it was bad. I'm
glad he was part of our roster, our major league roster. I'm glad he had the opportunity. Of course, though, we have the stuff that is in season, midst of season, NBA coming up on the trade deadline and All-Star game and some other big news there, as well as the hockey atmosphere getting ready for not an All-Star weekend, but for the Winter Olympics coming up very, very soon here.
As I have reported before, the Avs have not had a very good time since all the injury bug hit us around the new year, but we did have a nice little bounce-back game against Detroit, very early, 11 o'clock Mountain Time puck drop.
Just smashing on Detroit.
Yeah, that was good to see after what had been a pretty terrible Canadian trip, including 2 different 7-3 losses.
Yuck.
Pretty yucky stuff. The Nordiques throwback jerseys, for as pretty as they are,
cursed.
Quite cursed. Do not wear them anymore.
They're going to wear them again. Everyone likes them.
They have at least 2 more, I think, on the schedule already. The one they did in Montreal was unscheduled, but for whatever, I don't know who didn't see that, was looking for, where can we get these classic mashups against the Nordiques, and didn't catch the Montreal one. But so that was an add-on. So, yeah, they'll have to get over that. We did sign Sam Malinsky to a 4-year contract earlier this week, which is, good news for Sam and good news for us. That's a young, talented defenseman with a lot of offensive upside locked in now as a long-term piece. I can't help but feel like this should have been the contract that went to Bo Byram a couple of years ago instead of starting the wild train. I couldn't stop to realize how many pieces it took us to get to Brock Nelson from Bo Byram.
They've done some work.
It was Casey Middlestat over for Charlie Coyle, for who did we get out of? I think that was, Ross Colton wasn't involved in that one. That was a separate deal, but at least 4 separate trades happened before that amount of cap got moved into an actual second line center. That also kind of is a similar price point at $4.25 million to Sam Girard, which has fanned some flames that he and his $5 million might be on the move in a trade deadline scenario, potentially.
I don't know what they need.
Third line center is now the... the next one down.
I thought we were rich in centers at some point.
No, we have a lot of bottom 6 forwards, but most of them are wingers. And the real trick of it is a center needs to be good at faceoffs, and they need to be ideally the best skater to get back and forth. Theoretically, they cover the most ground on the ice. But mostly it's the faceoff thing. Jack Drury and Brock Nelson are our 1-2 on faceoffs, but Jack is better if he's the 4th line center and that's like just a stronger version of the lineup.
Not upset with it. It'd be nice to have a little upgrade, but
It's definitely a wish list thing of like, if everyone's healthy, our roster is still pretty solid. I'm not upset about going into the playoffs with what we do have, but fine-tuning, there is potentially some moves on the horizon, but as we know, that will have to involve players moving because we do not have hardly any flexibility on the cap.
the cap is very strapped over here in the Mile High City.
Yeah, I think that's all I had for NHL news this week. As you say, we are getting ready to stop down for the Olympic break there, so hasn't been a whole lot of change in terms of positioning just yet, and then when we're done with the Olympics and hopefully everyone we know who's healthy and who isn't, then we'll start to see the flurry of end-of-year push trades.
Why do they get extra trades? I guess they're kind of going to the Olympics.
It's just
but
our
still.
trade deadline. Yeah, we've had a couple freezes, roster freezes up to this point, which I think one is about to kick in here soon. But yeah, it's just a later trade deadline in the season overall. We love to manufacture some end of the year drama.
The magic of the NHL.
And then PWHL has already stopped down. They have reached their break point for Olympic break time because women's tournament starts a day earlier than the men's out there in Cortina. But as we are at the break here, the Boston Fleet are at the top of the standings, followed by Minnesota and Montreal in the 2 and 3 spot. We know Minnesota Frost and Montreal Victoire have always been climbing up at the top there. Boston, this is a nice turnaround for them, especially considering like everyone thought you lose Hillary Knight, you're kind of taking a step back. But no, Aaron Frankel in goal is enough to carry the team. And unfortunately, at the bottom of the standings, both expansion teams, the Golden Eyes, followed by the Toronto Scepters and the Seattle Torrent at the very bottom of the league.
Hey, finally not the Sirens.
And the Sirens and the Charge are right in the middle, tied. Oh no, Sirens have the 4th spot clean by 2 points.
We like
take
it.
That back.
See,
Yeah.
progress.
Top of the league. If playoffs started today, they'd be in as the last seed.
Huge progress.
Yep.
Never been there before. One day.
It has been a great bouncing year, like bounce up year for New York. A similar thing of like they lost a goaltender, and that seemed like bad news. But the new pickups this year have really clicked pretty well for them.
I'm a huge fan of a roster shakeup for our tiny league. Makes a world of difference.
Absolutely. That's all my hockey news.
Over on the basketball side, we'll talk about the Denver Nuggets to begin here in the NBA. Denver Nuggets have received Nikola Jokic back.
He has returned.
He
has
has
risen.
returned. He did rise. We did go 10 and I do believe 6 without him, which
Hugely impressive.
big strides, big improvement from anything we've ever done without him in the past couple years.
Yeah, unthinkable to be 4 games above 500 in a 16-game span.
Receiving him back is just like a huge upswing, and it's great timing. One, we got to take on the Clippers, which was his first game back, but also going to face the Thunder, who is kind of, once again, the favorite for obvious reasons to kind of have all their
Still
young
in the
dudes.
one spot.
Still in the one spot. Got
defending champs.
all of their roster back for the most part, so can't knock them. But having Jokic back really puts a weight on them because I think if we looked at if on paper everyone was healthy, and that may never happen ever.
Yeah, probably not at this point.
But in the hopes that it does, if we are ever healthy, I think the Nuggets would be favored over the Thunder with the
way
roster
that we've
changes done.
seen everyone play this year. Yeah, absolutely. Not being like guessing at the early part of the season about what all the bench guys would maybe do. We now know like Tim Hardaway, Peyton Watson, Valanciunas, all heavily like pulling their weight off the bench there.
We've kind of seen some dudes once again ping pong on and off the injury report. Val's been on and off kind of a day-to-day injury management. I would expect maybe, depending on how Jokic is and plays, he might do the same thing, but something tells me he wants to play more than not.
I don't think, Jokic is going to be a day in, day out guy. He'll do a minute restrictions, which is what he did on his first game back here. Yeah, just nonchalantly put up, what was it, 31 and 12 or something last night?
31, 12, and 7, I think it was.
In 25 minutes?
Yeah, it's something stupid, ridiculous.
Did not miss a step.
Unfortunately, Christian Braun's been here and out more out than anything. Unfortunately, been dealing with the ankles.
And then Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon once again hurt his hamstring again. So
same hammy.
Yeah, we'll be without him for a little bit, and Cam is still hurt as well from his hyperextension. So
he is making podcasts though.
Eventually, he'll be back again. I hope. We talked about he got gifted the Old Man and the Three podcast. And we talk about how that never does good for your career earlier on.
It does not bode well. But if he's already injured, it's fine.
Yeah, I
don't
guess.
think it is helping the recovery process though.
I mean, it doesn't hurt. At least he's being productive in spotlighting our team, which does not get to happen anywhere else.
It's true. This is some of the most interviews with our bench guys I've ever seen.
Yeah, and really great. Unfortunately, we did have the Michael Porter Jr. podcast, which not the same.
No, not nearly the same vibes.
No, he did come home and
yeah, we did see MPJ this week.
We did. He got a beautiful tribute. No Jokic for that game, but unfortunately we didn't need a Jokic to beat up on the Brooklyn Nets. They did get us the first one when we went out there for our East Coast road trip, but coming back here, not as favorable for him. But he did get his flowers, which well deserved. Everyone does.
Absolutely. He was a stalwart Nugget while he was here.
Yeah, he's a great 3-4, potentially sometimes a 2 option. Unfortunately, though, we just have too many guys, and not everyone gets to flourish.
It's a problem that only the salary cap era sports fans have had to deal with, I think, by and large, because in the old days, when a guy was on your team, you were like, unless he retires, he's going to be on my team forever, basically.
A little bit. I understand it. Like, you can't. If you're really good at what you do, like the Nuggets have been really good with their scouting department, a few other teams across the majority of the leagues really kind of have their niche in just scouting and building up players, the Thunder being another one in the NBA. You kind of get punished for doing such a good job because you can't keep everyone that you have, regardless of where they are.
I think that's kind of the lesson of the LeBron transition era of the NBA is like, even LeBron, the hometown darling in Cleveland, moves to other teams. Don't get attached. Be ready for your favorite to be wearing some other jerseys. Like Jokic is going to be breaking the mold in that sense by he has at every turn committed to being a lifelong Nugget.
Yeah, it's much more rare today to see a lifelonger in any athletic sport than it was, I would even say 10 or so years ago, where you live and die and breathe whatever team you got drafted to, and especially if you're that superstar of the team, you're not going to leave anywhere. There are very few organizations that abide by that anymore.
Yeah, the loyalty from the team side just does not exist. It is not financially beneficial to them to do those sorts of things. Hockey, I think, is kind of a little bit of an exception sometimes, where I think that is one of the markets where the hometown discount is very prevalent still.
The hockey culture in general is just such a weird...
An outlier from kind of how everything else
Every
happens.
other major sports operates. Like, we've talked about Sidney Crosby and his favorable contract that ruins the NHLPA, like, bruh.
Yeah, ruined the push for pushing that salary cap up in that era. But yeah.
But that is it for the Nuggets news. We are facing the injury bug still, but we have our main guy back, our main horse back in the stables. So everything is looking on the up and up. Like we said, 10-6 without him gone, and we're 1-0 currently with him back.
And because he came back a little earlier than expected, he is still eligible for end of year awards now, I've heard.
He is.
As long as he's still on pace to finish out the year.
Right on the cusp. He really has no wiggle room to
But it's
miss
still a
games.
possibility.
And well-deserved if I say so myself. Otherwise, in the NBA, having some weird things happen, like Paul George getting suspended for...
Oh, yeah, I saw 20 games?
25 games.
25 for drug test failure?
He failed a drug test because he's been out with injury, I'm pretty sure, for this whole time out in Philly, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be... I was going to say, this is the first time we've talked about him all year.
He has not... He's played a little bit here and there, but he's been nursing an injury and allegedly took the wrong drugs and failed his drug test, so now he's got to sit out for another 25. Which, oh no, if you're in the NBA. But Philly fans, they are not as nice.
No, that's a bad look for your franchise, for sure. And especially, like, the longer we are in this era of, like, you guys know they're going to be drug testing you, I took the wrong medication excuse kind of starts wearing thin because it's become sort of the go-to for most guys. And like, I guess I get that there's a lot of, I mean, I'm not in the top end athlete space where I have to be concerned about supplements and recovery proteins and such. And I do imagine there is quite the wild west of all sorts of people competing to have the hot new product out there.
You don't ever just take the wrong medication sometimes,
If I know that there's a list of drugs that my employer is going to be looking for in my bloodstream, I tend to make sure I'm avoiding those.
Well, it's curious, right? Because there's this weird dichotomy just in sports. Like the sports people and the athletes want to have their own people, but also you have like the team doctors and stuff. Like, I guess maybe you didn't check with your team doctor to make sure this was also like a kosher thing to do.
You'd think, a second opinion sort of thing.
Feels like there was some steps missed here.
There's
that
a
got
lot.
You.
You think as a professional athlete, you have a lot of resources available at your fingertips to avoid having a snafu like that. Although I say that in pulling us back to baseball news, I forget his name. The Korean player for the Giants who plays in the outfield got caught in customs on his way to San Francisco Giants Fan Fest earlier this week, I think, and had to call in some of his senator pals to get himself out of some hot water with the always popular Border Patrol and Customs and Immigration Enforcement people.
Oh, well.
So I guess, we give them a little more credit than they're due, maybe.
Getting caught for a fan fest, too, is just like the worst case scenario.
It's pretty bad.
Like, where's our guy? He's busy today.
He is caught up in customs.
But in the NBA, we are nearing trade deadline. Lots of rumors going around. We had sort of our first big trade happen a little bit earlier today, seeing Dennis Schroeder and the Kings swapping with, I do believe, the Cavaliers, DeAndre Hunter, who we've heard name around here in the Mile High area as potentially a trade candidate for MPJ a couple years back. He is moving out to Sacramento, where unfortunately players also go to die. They have a little bit better culture, but just no luck out there. We are going to probably see a lot of moves happening. There's a lot of rumblings like, is this time to move Giannis? We saw Trae Young get dealt a little bit much earlier. A lot of people sort of deciding what their future is going to be now in the new look of the NBA. I say new look, but we're kind of in a new phase. Like Jokic is sure by and large the favorite. We also have Shy now and a lot of the young guns taking over.
It feels like this is happening kind of across all of the major sports leagues right now, where we are catching a kind of visible wave where we're seeing the transition out of the old generation. The old stars are hitting that age. Ovechkin and Crosby are going to be 40. LeBron's setting all the records for oldest basketball player in the world. Football, we've just watched a whole bunch of familiar names of quarterbacks and coaches swap out of where we've seen them for like a decade. So yeah, there is definitely this like breath of fresh air and new faces and new talents coming in for sure.
Any other sports news you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think while we're still talking round ball, as we say, Unrivaled had a big week this week.
They did.
They also did a little bit of not a takeover tour, but they took the show on the road.
Did a little traveling.
And set a new record out in Philadelphia. One for most attended women's basketball game, period.
What row?
And two, highest attended event at that event center in Philadelphia. It's like the Excel Event Center or something. But 21,490 for the Unrivaled game out there in Philly. The previous record was held by the game where the Chicago Bulls on Michael Jordan's farewell tour were playing the Allen Iverson 76ers.
What a trip back in history.
When Unrivaled came to town, they said, we got to have more seats for this one. A huge week for them. Also, a thing I saw I don't remember who it was, but they got a quote out of like interviews this week about how Unrivaled is basically prepared to run a back-to-back second season if need be, because WNBA and player association meetings are happening again on Monday, and it doesn't sound like anyone's moving.
No. I'm sure they got it this time.
Meanwhile, the Unrivaled League has set themselves up in such a well-founded position. They're like, yeah, we own our space that we play in, so if we need to just like do 30 more games, we have the flexibility to just go ahead and do that.
That'd be kind of like. So I don't know if you know much about Athletes Unlimited, which is the other one, sort of the West Coast version of the women's basketball tour.
I caught a little bit of like their base concept, but I haven't watched too much of it yet.
Yeah, so their base concept is you bring in like just this pool of athletes, and every week the rosters and the teams all like sort of basically change up.
You have your pool of players, and you have them change up.
You have your swaps and whatnot, but each player sort of has their own points that they accumulate through wins and a bunch of other stuffs, and
that's fun.
It's a very fun sort of like fresh, so everything's getting mixed up. Everyone's kind of getting to play with each other. And
is it different sports as well, or
nope? It's all women. Well, they have a bunch of different sports that they cover, but women's basketball is one of their biggest ones that they do, especially during this off season. Unrivaled kind of did something similar this season. We saw a lot of change-ups through the roster. Of course, you're going to see Stewie with her Miss team, and Brianna with, of course, the Owls. Nafisa with her Owls team, because the owners, you get to pick which team. You get to pick your team, and it feels weird if you start to bounce around. It's like you're a team. But this season, we've seen a lot of new teams come up, and a bunch of players just go all over the place for the
they shuffled the deck pretty heavily out of the pre-existing players. We had some people drop out, some new ones come in. I don't know if you've seen Phantom have added a nice little splash of Dallas Stars neon green to their kit this year.
Did not. They're playing and doing a lot of good things out there. I wanted to be a Phantom fan, but you can't be a fan of a team that was doing just so bad.
They had a very rough go in season 1, but they are looking much more competent in season 2 this year.
A whole different roster, and I kind of would say in the first season things got a little bit messed up because a lot of players ended up pulling out for injury reasons and a couple other reasons that the Phantom didn't get the roster that they were going to think they had. And this season, I think they finally got they're not missing anybody.
Yes, and I think they learned some lessons last year too about having a little bit deeper pool of like reserve players, because I think there was a few different instances of injuries shortening benches that were kind of unforeseen.
Injuries and a bunch of other commitments that were happening all at the same time. Now that this thing is, I think, fairly well established, I think we are not going to have as many scheduling conflicts as well, because this is a very good endeavor for both women's basketball, but also the professional athletes at hand, because this is a good chance for you to, depending on where you are in your career, you can make your whole year's salary just playing one season, the 30 games that they do play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think seeing those, it's a pretty easy pitch, I feel like, to the other athletes who might still be on the fence about the off-season ball or something, being like, hey, look at these numbers on season 2. We're selling out full stadiums around the country and doing it where everyone is making a better chunk of money with better resources, like supporting infrastructure around them. A shorter season overall is just the benefits. I don't see the cons to it other than like increased risk of injury from playing in a different league.
Which, I mean, for the most part, women have been playing multiple seasons since
the
dawn of professional.
They've been doing it
sports.
overseas before, and now it's like you don't even have to do that. You just go down to Atlanta.
Much better option, as we've seen from some of the stories that Brittany Griner has given us from her trip out to Russia, and some of the other athletes that had to go to places maybe not so friendly for Americans to go, or other nationalities.
Yes, that was my last of our has already happened sports, but I would say that this is, if you're listening to this on regular schedule, this is going to be the last episode before the Olympics start, so it's our chance to call out the Olympics.
Indeed, and I forgot, we are 1 week away from the Super Bowl as well.
Indeed, there is that football nonsense, although I will say this is probably the least exciting matchup for the general fan of football. I don't know how many people were excited to see the Pats or the Seahawks back in the Super Bowl.
I am not excited to see the Pats there, because I think it's a little gross if anyone wants like the Pats to go, unless you are within the confines of the New England area, which is basically the whole Northeast.
Yeah.
But Washington, I think the Seattle fans have a good story. Like the trials and tribulations Sam Darnold has gone through is perfect for a Disney movie.
Sam Darnold, I think, has that, sort of coming from the bottom, or the comeback story from the abject failure that was the end of his last year. I don't know if you saw the thing about, it seems like his performance in the championship game got the previous Minnesota Vikings GM fired. Just the timing, because everyone's been... to fire the GM now when everyone's doing scouting prep for draft day already.
I get why he probably got fired, but also, I can't blame the man. You told him to go get a quarterback, and we got this guy who was supposed to come in here and really just back him up and mentor him, because he's been through the league for a few years now. I wasn't expecting him, once he got the right resources to need, to be such a star.
Yeah, it's certainly, you don't really fault them. And because Sam Darnold had a great season up until the very end of the year, when it all just kind of blew up in his face. And who could have seen that he got over those 2 games so well this year, and then outperformed a very good team. And I don't know if anyone would have picked Sam Darnold to be a starting quarterback for the Super Bowl this year at the beginning of the year.
I mean, I think there's some people, we saw shades of what he could be last year overall. But the way he kind of flamed out there in Minnesota was not ideal. But you saw what he could potentially do.
There was the potential there, but it's all the question marks surrounding is that his big game performance level? Is the moment too big for him? That sort of thing. And at the beginning of the year, remember, we didn't know Mahomes was going to suck, Lamar Jackson wasn't going to make the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole long list of quarterbacks ahead of him that I think would have been stronger candidates to have been our Super Bowl appearance. And then, yes, like I said, Winter Olympics, the events actually begin on Wednesday the 4th, opening ceremony Friday, February 6th, and then our first medal event will be happening on Saturday the 7th.
I'm always weirded out by, how do you start the thing without opening it?
Right. It's logistics. And
it's going to, getting into the restaurant before it has its grand opening. You're not allowed to do that unless you have, the secret backdoor code or something like that. You have the little light openings just to get a taste.
I mean, it's kind of wild how many big events in the world do this sort of thing, that, there's the publicity, highly marketed event, and there's a lot of stuff around it before and after that they just don't bother showing to everyone. And I think, like I said, it's mostly just going to be time trials and stuff. The other exciting news, whoever did the schedule for the events really, I think, nailed this aspect of it. Every single day from from February 4th to February 22nd, when we close the games out, we will have curling.
I don't know.
Curling every day for these Olympics. The highlight. When you think of Winter Olympics.
I mean, I do think of curling, to be fair.
Exactly. And they know that's the hot draw.
I don't know if it's what I want to see every day.
No, every single day we got to have curling available.
Also, I don't know enough about curling. I assume we're having a bunch of different curling brackets and sub brackets.
Well, the fun thing about curling is I think you can do singles and doubles, and then you can do men's, women's, and mixed. So you have just a super deep amount of combinations to make out of kind of the same players. So your national teams, you have maybe 8 of them, and then that's enough.
That feels like a lot, even.
Probably
4
3
pairs. 4 pairs. That doesn't seem like too many, but
for sure
8 people sounds like a lot for curling, especially if we're just gonna mix and match.
I think that's the big countries. Your Canadas, your USA's, I don't know who else is big in curling.
Jamaica's.
Nope, we haven't seen that movie yet. But yes, that's the exciting, and yes, we'll have events going. Medal rounds are mostly going to be interspersed. They've done a pretty good job, again, like I said, of keeping the medal events to weekend days. They've kind of figured out when people are going to probably be watching, but it's going to be on our Peacock and NBC platforms for people who want to tune in and catch all that winter action.
From our last Olympic sports coverage, which did very well for our sports podcast, do you think from an Olympics scheduling standpoint is better to sort of spotlight those big sort of Olympic events like your hockeys, your curlings, your whatever else? I can't even name all the things that they have in the Winter Olympics because I'm a summer boy myself.
Bobsleds.
The bobsleds, the
skeleton.
luge. the skeleton's scary as well. But is it better to spot like these big events, or is it nice to get sort of a mix and everyone gets to see a little bit of all the great things that we do in the winter?
I do like the notion of like giving the primetime spots to the sort of highlight events. It's a little unfair to some of the less popular events sometimes, but to those I would say make your own heartwarming global hit movies about your sport, and then maybe we'll care a little bit more and demand to see it more often.
But can you imagine, like, this is what I've given my life and soul for, and no one's going to see it because I'm happening at 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever time zone I may be in.
You don't become an Olympic athlete for the notoriety. You go into professional sports
for the infamy. Oh,
the Olympics, and that's kind of why the Olympics for a long time didn't have pro athletes in it, because they're like, you guys are there for the money. We want people who are here for the love of the game, who are rising and grinding.
And we decided that we also like money, and you need to be here for said money.
And then it was like, oh, but actually, if we want the best athletes in the world, they are the ones who are doing it for money. So I guess we'll go ahead and let them play too.
Funny how that works out. Speaking of things and doing things for money and whatnot, we've covered a lot of different things in the sports, and we've given out flowers, and we never take away flowers. But something strange happened in the NFL this week. The NFL and the Hall of Fame decided Bill Belichick is not worthy of being entered quite yet.
Not a first ballot Hall of Famer for Bill Belichick, and I personally think that's hilarious and good for him.
Hilarious, yes, but is it deserved?
It completely undermines the legitimacy and impartiality of the Hall of Fame, like as a voting body. But you know what? Before John Elway, I don't know if there were many other franchises that were more disrespected by the Hall of Fame than the Denver Broncos. So, and even after John, we still have not had a very good time of it.
We've gotten a little bit more love. Some of our
I'm still mad
favorites.
about how long it took Pat Bowlen to get in.
Yeah, Pat Bowlen's there, but now we've kind of. I feel
but
like
we do have enough representation now that it's hard to be salty.
Yeah,
about
I feel
it.
like we got a good little like friendship between us and whoever decides what the Hall of Fame and notoriety are.
But the funny thing to me about the Bill Belichick thing is that this isn't just like a couple of like one or two rogue people. This is, you have to get enough voters so that it's not like over the majority amount or something. This man's haters were so coordinated and set upon it that they had to you got to get about a dozen people to vote against him. That's wild.
Yeah, that's, I don't know.
That's to me is the moral. It's like, don't live your life in such a way that your haters keep you from getting in the Hall of Fame. That's not a thing that a lot of other people have had the problem of.
Oh, not to this degree for sure. He's done something to take what is probably a truly a first ballot Hall of Fame career and
winning his coach, most Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl wins,
and have the people say that is all nice, but
you got to wait a year.
Yeah, I ain't down with what's going on right now. He's kind of tarnished his reputation a little bit.
It's certainly been an ugly post NFL part of his career, but I don't think that's. In fairness, that shouldn't be part of the consideration for it. Everything I saw was that the big thing that the people who were voting against him were upset about was all the cheating scandals, and that's the black mark on his record that should keep him from enjoying first ballot Hall of Famer.
I think I saw basically the reply to that was from a lot of different fans and patriots alike that love Bill Belichick is like, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Like, everyone does it.
But he got caught multiple times.
Yeah, he did.
Josh McDaniels went and then continued to keep doing it and keep getting caught.
Yeah, he did.
Under our Origin Blue banner, that little traitor.
Josh McDaniels is probably the issue there, but
yeah,
neither here nor there.
Speaking of another guy who's probably going to have a fun time with that Hall of Fame committee, Josh McDaniels, who now becomes the coach with the most Super Bowl appearances of all time.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to find his way there ever.
That's hilarious to me as well.
Like, because if we really think about who's in the National Football Hall of Fame, there's no assistant coaches. You have to be a head coach, which we know he's not a very good one of those.
His head coach record is terrible.
And he's not a GM, so unless he goes out to own a very winning team, the odds of that are not looking good.
I don't know. Maybe Robert Kraft thinks of him as an adopted son.
My son.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
We'll have to see. But yes, that was pretty funny.
I do believe that will wrap up our sports section. We will head over to media, and there's not a whole lot of that running around, but there are some news that did happen in the media culture. To begin, we will send our condolences out. Catherine O'Hare did pass away earlier this week, who has been a mother to a number of different people. She was a lot more widely known and was in a lot more things than I had thought, because I mostly think of her in Home Alone and Beetlejuice, my favorites.
Home Alone and Beetlejuice are probably the two most well-known. She was also a star on Schitt's Creek, the Netflix series, more recently. And then a long run in the 2000s of being in the ensemble in the Christopher Guest series of movies, which are the faux documentary comedy bits. My favorite of those being Best in Show, about a very unhinged group of people doing a Westminster-style dog show. There's a few other ones in that same sort of genre, but she and Eugene Levy, and they were kind of part of a generation of comedians that came up through Second City, Toronto, I believe, back in like the late 80s, early 90s. She has been a trailblazer in that space and a peak performer, a real giant of the comedy scene.
Yeah, the outpouring of people who came to sort of give their condolences and talk about the memories and everything with her was very widespread, from the top of Hollywood all the way down to even some of the smaller people that just wanted to recognize her and just appreciate who she was just as a person.
Yep, and that's always nice, and it tends to happen. Like, very rarely do the comedian funny people turn evil when they get famous. So, not never. They're just the more unlikely.
But in the media culture, I thought our meaty topic of the day, and come along with me on this ride. This is why I'm your captain of this ship.
Oh boy,
or plane, whichever one you choose. Spaceship. There's a lot of things that have a captain. So for me, when I hop in my car or whatever I'm doing, I'm usually listening to something. Sometimes it's music, but eventually I decide that I just need something else. Not so many albums today that I want to listen to over and over again and play through. So I turned to be a big audiobook person myself.
Okay.
So my thought was, and we're going to talk about book adaptations in film and TV series.
Oh, interesting.
Which is something that you are very well...
Relatively, yeah. I'm pretty familiar with some books. And
you have some very strong opinions about, because you being were a book connoisseur at some point in your
I was
life.
a heavy reader back in the day. I've consumed a lot of series in my time. Yeah, it's very hard for film and TV adaptations to beat the written word versions in my mind, just because most of the magic of books, whether it be the written or audio version, is that by only having the descriptors and like sound element to it, it leaves your imagination open to fill in the rest, and whatever your imagination comes with, your brain is going to like more than what the committee of people have to put together tangibly on a movie or TV set.
Yeah, I think it's an nearly impossible task to do it well. Not to say that it's never been done, but there are a lot more failures in the category than there are successes, depending on whose measure. And we can talk about a list here.
A lot of subjective opinions in that regard.
Of course. So, I mean, we can talk about some of the all-time greats, of course. Starting at the top, of course, we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think, does it very well. I
kind of invented the genre for this era, because previous to those movies, it was kind of Lord of the Rings was up there in the category of books that could not be made into movies.
It's the books are thick and hefty, and to make a movie out of that, Peter Jackson found a way, and it was probably the only and best way to do so.
Yeah, it will go down in cinema history as one of the best endeavors in the genre. And it was very unorthodox in its production. He basically put an entire country to work as his not only prop makers but also extras, and just happened to have the natural biodiversity to be able to film everything on the one island country. And then the notion of, we're going to make a trilogy out of this. We're not going to wait for an okay after movie one. I need everyone here on the island for 3 years. We're going to film all of it. and then start putting it together and releasing it.
Trailblazer in what it was able to do for sure. Some of the others, like we have some classics there. Just single books. To Kill a Mockingbird is always a classic back in the old days.
Black and white era. That's a good one.
You have to follow that. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with that.
Some would say the movie better than the book on that one.
Yep. No argument for there. And then some newer ones. No Country for Old Men is kind of a newer adaptation.
Sure. What's that author's name who does the Cormac McCarthy? I don't think he did No Country for Old Men, but it's similar. I think like The Road is another one that got an adaptation.
Yeah, that one is that's with Vigo.
Yes.
Which I had to read that book. It's a very sad book.
Dark, yeah.
It is. That was my senior year of high school. How exciting.
Yeah.
But then we have some that are, I don't know, I don't remember if The Godfather was a book first or not.
Ooh, great question.
Because that one might be the first one that's like a movie adaptation to a book.
The novel written by Mario Puzo was published in 1969.
Okay.
And was on the bestseller list for 67 weeks before being adapted into the 1970 film.
Yeah, so
72.
That one's another one I think goes up there as with the
That's
greatest of all
huge.
time.
Yeah, I don't think many people think of the book when you say The Godfather.
No, but it is out there. Gramps has had a collection of them somewhere in his lifetime.
You can definitely, every used bookstore will have a paperback copy of The Godfather somewhere on their shelves.
But another great one. And then we start to get into some sketchier territory, like Dune I don't think it's been around quite long enough to make a determination about it.
The new set, yeah. Dune has had a few people take a whack at it.
I don't remember the old Dune. And I don't think that one's as... it's fine.
I think they only went... Because Dune is like a book series that covers a lot of ground. And I think I want to say 82, 83 version that kind of came out in the wake of Star Wars told Hollywood that, people want sci-fi now. Grab all the sci-fi books, start making them. And so like, here's Dune. You people like this? And some people were like, yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, they only went for the one book.
Of course, we have a number of Stephen King books that have been adapted into movies, some close-ish to the book and some very far off from what the book actually is.
I would say this is, someone who has made their career in this space of the pipeline from book to movie and maybe pioneered that for a lot of folks, but I can't think of anyone who has more books who've been adapted. Maybe, what's her name? The romance, Walk to Remember. Nicholas Sparks.
Oh, yeah.
I think he might have also done The Notebook.
Yeah, I don't think he's up there. Stephen King has so many.
Unless, you know what, there's probably some of those romance authors who get the... are we counting the Hallmark movie adaptations?
You can.
Because there's a bunch of those.
But they're like...
They're for a very specific audience.
I think that's in a different category, though.
It's a different... they're not going for like high blockbuster cinema.
It's not, and usually those are like an hour-long sort of ordeal versus like
we would call that a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, versus like a feature film sort of deal.
I would say also in this category, in a very funny spot in terms of adapted from a book series that was not finished, Game of Thrones.
That one is
very controversial because that was
hugely controversial. And that we're gonna talk a little bit about those guys here in a second.
Okay.
But first, got to throw out, of course, everyone's favorite series that's Series I. Series is multiple series, all the series. The Hunger Games and, of course, Harry Potter. I think those ones are the most controversial because there are some good ones and then there are the others.
Yeah, the Harry Potter movies are very up and down in terms of quality of adaptation. I would say it peaks at 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban. The movie is, I think, a better... Because of the funny like time travel thing they're doing. Spoilers for Prisoner of Azkaban, a 20-something-year-old book now. Because of the time travel stuff going on in Azkaban, the visual representation of that is a lot easier to like wrap your head around, in my personal opinion. So movie 3 is peak adaptation there. Movie 6 is the absolute low point. They did Half-Blood Prince, which is one of my favorite books in the series. So dirty. Dog water movie. Absolute garbage. No one, like, the people who barely skimmed through the actual text of the book before they put the script down on that one. And then they were just like, you know what? I know broad strokes roughly where we got to get to, and you're just going to have to trust me with how we get there.
Can you spark notes it for me, please?
It's bad. The
Hunger Games aren't as bad, but I think the first couple are like top notch, and then you kind of drop down a little bit of quality because they kind of do a little bit of the same thing where you start to do some more broad strokes than we are in depth into this.
Yeah, I did not catch because I remember Hunger Games being a 3-book trilogy did get the split the last one into 2 movies treatment, so I did not finish up on it.
I thought the book was the same way. Actually.
No.
I don't remember, but I don't know about books.
It is a trilogy, and I specifically remember because the third one I did read all in one sitting at a Barnes & Noble when I got hooked on it. I had an e-reader copy of the first of the Hunger Games, and then I guess I rented, I think I libraried a digital copy of the second one, which was Catching Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is Hunger Games 3, Bigger and Badder.
It is not that.
It is...
The More Hungering.
Anyway, it's the one where they have the revolution and whatnot. And it's a good book. The fact that the Hungerverse is expanding, though,
the new one's
is fun.
Oh, it's Mockingjay.
Mockingjay thing. I was not gonna get there. But yes, that one I was like, I'm done spending money on this series, but I do need to know how it finishes up. So I did just go to a Borders or a Barnes and Noble and grab it off the shelf and pay for a coffee and then sit at the table. And then 4 hours later, I was done.
Terrible. But the new adaptations are actually pretty good. I liked the first one that they did. The Ballad of Songbird was a very good movie. I haven't audiobooked the book yet, so from what I've heard from my partner, matches up pretty good. Both were very good. She enjoyed both. So
I think Suzanne Collins, who is the author of the series, is pretty good. Has definitely done a very good job of grounding her book series in a way that makes it pretty easy for adaptation in terms of like it's not calling for wild, like I will say one of the weak points of the later movies was the CGI.
We weren't there yet.
For the fan. No, that's BS. The CGI peaked back in like Dead Man's Chest for Pirates of the Caribbean with Davy Jones and his tentacle face, and that was 2004.
That's Disney money. That's different.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a separate topic about the decline of the CGI industry because of too much demand, not enough employees, harder hours.
Boy, do I have a movie for you. Let me tell you about War of the Worlds 2025.
Good callback.
On top of that, for me, there's a couple things I've learned about myself through my journey in audiobooks as this discussion has started.
Mm-hmm.
One, I've struggled mightily with the fantasy audiobooks. I love like listening to it on a podcast. I love the movies. I just struggle listening to it from an audiobook perspective for some reason. I don't know if it's just the person reading to me I can't connect with or what that might be, but I struggle with that. So I find myself in a lot of mystery, and that's my sort of jam, and what I've been my favorites recently that I've been going to, of course, the Dan Browns, Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code, and those movies are also, they are fine, but they are not as good as they probably should be.
Yeah, the books are better.
It's impossible. It's the audiobook alone for each of those is a 17-hour and a 20-hour book.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing that got me thinking about this topic is I'm listening to Da Vinci Code right now, but the audiobook is from way back when, and it's telling me when to pop in the CDs. There are so many CDs for this audiobook.
Yeah, dog. Back in the day, those MP3 files are pretty fat, and a CD can only hold like 1.5 of them.
Well, because the Angels and Demons one, for some reason, came later and it's just a nice stream through, but like 3
the Da Vinci Code is just an older book. It's like from the 90s when it was originally published.
I thought Angels and Demons came first. I thought that was because Angels and Demons is first, and then you
have Da Vinci Code. Angels and Demons comes earlier in the timeline.
It does.
But publishing-wise, it came after.
That makes sense. But every 3 or 4 chapters to get in, all right, pop in CD number...
Please move on to CD number 5.
We were CD 5 long ago. I'm on CD like 16 or something
and
like
you
that.
can imagine someone with their Zippo binder with their sheets
insanity.
of CDs.
I would never go through this for an audiobook.
Which one do you need? 64? Yeah, one sec. That's in the other binder.
Yeah, awful. But back to the topic at hand, not very good movies. Tom Hanks is in them, and they're fine. But now that I've read
the books are more engaging.
They are. They're just
better,
overall,
denser, chewier mysteries.
like especially the Angels and Demons one that we cut. We get
you really cut out a lot in Angels and Demons.
We cut out so much, and I understand. Once again, it's an 18-hour book. I think they got an hour and a half for the movie, which is even more insane.
Sub 2 hours on both films for sure. And I know I've read Angels and Demons at least once before I saw the movies, but I've seen the movies now like at least 4 or 5 times. So that's the one that sticks in my head more often.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite books.
I like Ewan McGregor in it. That's kind of the big saving grace of Angels and Demons.
It's the only time he's ever a bad guy, which is like one of my favorite things of all time.
And it's a twist. Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Yeah, and it's fine. The books are much more nuanced than what they have to say about like because what is his he's a cryptologist or something.
He's a Harvard cryptologist.
Puzzle solving boy and his relationship to religion.
It's even more than that. Like it's more than related. He solves like cool puzzles is what his job is, which is a really cool job. It's
a fun fictional sort of thing. It's hard to make a career out of specializing that hard, I would say. But
if you're a Harvard professor.
If you are the guy, then yeah, you are going to get caught up in some fun activities.
But that's got me thinking, right? So his third book, I can't remember what comes after. It's like The Secrets of something, which I think is even earlier in the Dan Brown trilogy, got turned into a series on Peacock, which did not do very well.
Yeah, I didn't even hear of it.
Also, yeah, a lot of people, it was a Peacock.
Also, Peacock, not a super well-established streamer.
That's probably part of the reason I want to go give it a try. But is it capable? Is it more likely that you have a better retelling of a book on a movie or in a series? Like there's limitations to both, but you have...
Yeah, for sure. So series, you're going to have a lower budget probably like for a per episode thing, but you just have more time. And that's in general going to be more helpful to you because that is the big thing. Like most book stories just take longer to unfold than what a movie runtime will give you, which was always the reason why people thought Lord of the Rings was unfilmable, because it's like, what do you mean you're gonna make that a movie? That's 14 months of them walking.
we cut it up a little bit.
Yeah, and that is essentially what you have to do as the director and like the screenwriter and all that. You have to make those decisions of like, where can we tighten this up? What can we condense? What can we combine?
Well, we can cut out about 8 of these months to just walking, because they are just walking, looking at the forest, just chilling out.
Yeah, and that's what you end up with is getting down to how do you make that interesting, jump cuts and all that. Some stuff has to get left out, which is why all the extended editions are over 4 hours long.
You can go see all of them in theaters too if you're a madman.
I am tempted, but I for sure I do think that's the big limitator on movies is your time restriction.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of laid out an example. Game of Thrones, I think, did a really good job up till that last season because, unfortunately, we didn't have another book to go off of on this one.
That's the classic problem of not having written your ending.
I don't know why people don't write their endings.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do it good.
It is.
It's easy enough to just say, and then they got to here, and that's it. But most people have a certain expectation once you've been in the air that long. We had this discussion about landing the plane.
Go back to episode 4 or 5 or somewhere early on in this.
I want to say it was in the teens somewhere, probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah, somewhere. It's titled about endings and whatnot. But there's a 321 Presents about landing the plane, and sometimes you don't want to crash that plane, and I get it. But also, if you just float up there, you're gonna run out of gas. People are gonna stop caring. But I think you are right. Like I am more tempted to give the benefit of the doubt to a TV series because I do like. For a lot of these books, you do just need more time to tell the story. Like Dan Brown's Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code, both I think are a perfect example. Like having more time to tell the story, I think would have been so much better than rushing it in the sub 2 hour movie that you actually got. Like so much has to happen.
Because in Angels and Demons, it's insane. It makes it seem like Tom Hanks is basically just sprinting at high speed across Italy for an afternoon and nearly dying at every stop.
That's kind of what the story is, but it's also not quite exactly how the timeline is.
Yeah, they don't have the franticness is not quite there the whole way through. No,
and I'm curious, like as we are coming up here soon, we're gonna have the Harry Potter version of that, like you talked about 1, 2, and 3, where one they're a little bit shorter books, but also sort of easy to make into a movie. But once you start to go beyond that, it becomes more difficult because so much is happening in this timeline that the series may have a benefit of that. Like a perfect example of that right now is the Percy Jackson series that's going on Disney Plus, which is I've really enjoyed. It took me a while to get through the first season because some other stuff just pops up. But
yeah, this is the second stab at a Percy Jackson?
It is. We did
the other one was movies though.
We
right?
did the movies, and we kind of we started the movies a little late, so he's supposed to be 12 or something when the first movie happens,
he's
or
more
whatever.
Of like a 15, 16.
He's about 16, 17 with a 25-year-old Dylan O'Brien playing him. Neither here nor there, so it's tough to kind of fit in the rest of the movies in that timeline. But yes, the first movies are like they're liked by kids and stuff. But I think this series holds up much better than those original movies ever did, especially with the star-studded cast that they ended up getting.
Yeah, and that's definitely one where you really do it an injustice by trying to squeeze it into those movie time frames, because it just wants time to breathe. You want to learn more about the characters and not have the, like, part of those Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Hunger Games things is meeting your cast of characters and getting to have your emotional attachments with them. If you have to simplify them down into caricatures, they lose a lot of their depth and pull, and then when tragic things or good things happen to them later, we don't care as much. So I am hopeful that the Harry Potter seriesification is able to, use that expanded timeline, that expanded runway to do it a little bit more justice, because I would say that's probably why movie number 6 falls apart like it does. It's when you get to that back half of the series, you've hopefully built up enough foundation in the beginning half that you can now do the fun, fancy stuff of really finishing out character arcs. And movie 6 can't do any of that because all of the base foundation for those characters and those moments got cut out of the movies 3 movies ago.
And maybe some of the characters didn't even make it.
Largely, yeah. A whole... From book 4, what's her name? The Velas don't exist in the Harry Potter movies, essentially, and it's a whole pretty kind of big thing about another kind of human species in the Harry Potter world. Don't look into the lore too deep; it's problematic. But that's the example of, like, when you have to make those cuts for efficiency, it hurts you down the line in the storytelling. Thankfully, I would say for the movies, Harry Potter, again, doing the double movie of the last book and splitting it into 2 movies, was able to avoid that pitfall as well, because they never would have done it. Like, even the 2 Deathly Hallows movies we got are still very long movies.
I am curious if you prefer, right? So we can have the feature film, we can have the series, or we do take like the Harry Potter and Dune route where they even cut Dune 1 into two parts, part 1 and part 2. Is that worthwhile?
That's an interesting one.
Because that one is kind of like taking a little bit of best of both worlds, but you're going
to get the best product out of it, but it's going to take the longest amount of time, and I'm impatient as a consumer.
I mean, they're really probably going to film the one movie and be like, all right, 1, 2.
Potentially, it depends on how long you have the cast available for and all that. In an ideal world, yeah, you do want to do it Lord of the Rings style, where you keep everyone together for the whole production and knock it out all in one go. But very rarely is that ideal process the one that actually happens in movie production. So that, to me, like, yeah, the Dune movies, which I have yet to actually sit down and watch. I also don't think I've read any of the Dune book, so I don't really have a compare-contrast on those. But I know, like...
Ooh, this is the first time you can do it backwards. You can watch Dune and then read Dune.
Oh, boy. Lucky me. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if I'm that into the Sandworms verse out there. Overall, though, the thing is, the movies ideally come out as the highest quality piece, but it takes longer to get them done. TV show production is kind of challenging that notion as well these days. Series are also, and we look at Stranger Things, that took them basically the same amount of time to make a movie out of those.
Yeah, I mean, some of the TV quality stuff, I think you can get almost movie. I'm not going to say complete movie quality out of a TV show, but it is going to take a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more drawn out than any of us like.
But that's just sort of the rub of making things, and we're definitely spoiled in this day and age. I don't think like we're making things quite as efficiently as we could be, but certainly compared to back in the day, we are still getting things at a nice, healthy clip.
Maybe on this next go of Harry Potter, he'll actually be closer to the right age than he ever was in any of the movies.
We'll see. We'll see if those poor kids don't get eaten alive by media stardom before then.
I assume that they have a little bit enough forethought that they'll be like, all right, and 1 is done, and now we're on to 2 now, kids, because you ain't famous yet.
No, yeah, for productions, like, that's still going to happen, but, like, at a certain point, once the season 1 does come out, their lives change completely in terms of just, like, public perception.
That's fair.
And we've seen even as recently as, like, the mid-20-teens of the child actors still kind of have a rough time in their having your teenage adolescence years being under the public scrutiny.
Yeah, I will say the Harry Potter series is probably the most difficult to tackle because it is 1 year, next year, and then he turns 18 and it's time to go to war.
Yeah, basically.
Which is like that he started when he was 11. We're doing film after film after film here.
For the kids, you're basically saying I sign up to not go to regular high school. I'm going to have my entire probably like 5th through 12th education on a movie set.
You're taking basically a Stranger Things approach, essentially.
Yeah. Which is kind of what they tried to do in the movies as well. They kept those pumping as quickly as they could. But as we know, at the end, they kind of got behind on scheduling.
What do you mean Harry Potter has a son?
Now, that was the epilogue, and that was a funny kind of lack of use of prosthetics to age them up 20 years.
They're already looking so old.
I was glad that the epilogue did get filmed, though, because that was a thing that they could have skipped on.
I'm surprised they didn't, actually.
Like I said, I appreciated it, because it would have been one of those, like, oh, what ifs, although... Also could have been fun to have actually waited the appropriate amount of time and gotten Dan and Emma and Rupert back together to then film it when they're appropriately upper-aged.
Oh, no. Can you imagine?
Which would be now.
Yeah.
And they look the same, essentially, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, it was like they look the exact same as they did before.
I will say the millennials have broken that perception of, like, what people look like as they age. Because this is a funny thing that gets brought up nowadays on like clips on social media and stuff about how the adults in cartoons and their like funny ways of dressing, and as a kid you watch them, you're like, yep, those are old adult people, and it's like, they're 32. The Rugrats parents are all in their like early 30s, late 20s. Homer Simpson is 34 canonically.
Not quite the same.
Yeah, that's just not what people look like at those ages anymore. You look like you're in your late 20s for about 40 years now.
And I think we have concluded here that we would all, if we're going to do a book adaptation, we'd prefer it in series format. If you must give it to us in a movie to break them up appropriately.
Indeed.
With that being said, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up this week?
Just one note of other media stuff coming out that is within my wheelhouse. There's going to be a new documentary coming out on Netflix about Hillel Slovak, who was the original guitarist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And the Red Hot Chili Peppers want you to know this is not a Red Hot Chili Pepper documentary.
Indeed. They have come out for a disclaimer to say that, yes, while the Chili Peppers do appear in this documentary to comment on Hillel's life and their relationship with him, this is not Red Hot Chili Peppers documentary. Do not go in expecting that, and you'll know when they have a Red Hot Chili Peppers documentary, basically. But Hillel's life is kind of a bit of a tragedy. He dies... He lives fast and dies young, as happened in the late 80s in that rock and roll lifestyle. But I'll be looking forward to it and maybe have a report once that comes out.
Sounds good. That being said, take us out.
Absolutely. Thank you once again for sticking with us for another episode of 321 Presents. We would love to have your comments about whether you prefer to see book adaptations as a TV series or a movie, or what your favorite Olympic sport you're most looking forward to is going to be. And leave those for us either here on Spotify. You can leave those on our YouTube. You can go to the website, 321pods.com, and leave a comment on each individual episode post. Whatever you want to do. We'd love to hear your feedback. And also to note, if you're listening to this, the first episode of my new podcast on the 321 Network is out and available for listening. For 26, episode 1, we're taking a look at Infinite Jest, the big beefy book that has been puzzling folks for 30 years now. That is where you can find all of our stuff, and that's been it. Our pilot, head of the ship for this one has been Zach.
Thank you guys for coming along.
And I have been your co-pilot, Nick.
We'll see you guys next week.
Adios.